put too much emphasis, of course, for people who work for different embassies and also foreign ministries. The third issue, they need to pay more attention to the changing sentiments in Turkey about the American policies, politicians, and values. I was one of those very skeptical in Turkey who argued against the arguments that there was this anti-American sentiments rising in Turkey. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe the surveys. But after, since 2003 now, it's about 7-8 years now, although it started with widely shared dislike towards George W. Bush's policies, it become widely shared now among the both public, in general public, elites in Turkey, and even decision makers. And it has now entrenched. It's not passing phenomenon anymore. It's there, and it's widening to different issues. It now includes dislike toward the American ideas about democracy. I'm quoting this from a Pew survey. They ask these questions and they get negative answers. So it includes now dislike about American ideas about democracy, American ways of doing business, and not even admiring U.S. for its technological and scientific advances. So this is the technological and scientific advance. It is a non-political issue. And the admiration for U.S. success in that area is going low and low in Turkey, even on that area. So this is, I think, it's a problematic area that we should be focusing more. Survey after survey, and among them I did a couple of them, finds a deep-rooted distrust in Turkish public for American intentions for Turkey and around Turkey, and even concerns raises that some concerns are already raised that U.S. could become a military threat to Turkey. The last time we conducted a survey, about 2 months ago, we asked the Turkish public in 26 different cities representing all the total population. We asked them which countries you think that threatens Turkey. Well, Israel was the first, unsurprisingly, but the United States was the second. Again, unsurprisingly for us, we expected that. But the fact that we expected that result tells a lot, actually. Such sentiments needs to be taken very seriously and addressed through a concentrated policy option from both sides. A cooperation needed to concentrate and change it. To cope with these sentiments, the relationship needs to be mutually beneficial, diversified in content, and ownership expanded. It needs new constituents on both sides with enough vested interest to support and, if necessary, defend the continuation of the relationship. I'm not going to speak about the United States, but in Turkey, there are not many people in today's public affairs who would speak for the continuation of Turkish-American relations openly. You wouldn't find intellectuals on Turkish TVs arguing for it. You wouldn't find Turkish politicians constantly supporting it. So this is something that we have to put emphasis and try to come up with a solution. Finally, let me just mention the specific areas that would need attention in the coming days. And the list is long, actually, but I will mention a couple of them. First is Turkey-NATO relationship needs to be incorporated in Turkish-American relationship. The support for NATO membership in Turkey is down to 30%. So it's definitely in connection with Turkish-US relations. We have to be careful about that. Second is, of course, the ambassadors both of them mentioned Turkey-Iran connection and possible US-Iran confrontation would have devastating effect on Turkish-American relations. Amending Turkish-Israeli relationship is one of the agendas that new government in Turkey would be dealing, definitely. Advancing on Turkish-Armenian rapprochement or restarting the rapprochement again will be another issue that Turkey, the new government, will be dealing. But in connection with this, avoiding a train crash in Turkish-American relations in 2015 is also as important. And I would see a real possibility of a train crash there. Reinvigorating energy cooperation, which was very important and successful in the early 1990s. It's almost nobody today talks about energy cooperation in Eurasia between the United States and Turkey. We all know that the Baku-Tbilisi Jehan was made possible because of the American support, but nobody is now anymore talking about that. And making room in this context, of course, making room for enhanced Turkish-Russian cooperation is important. We always get from American partners or friends criticism that Turkey and Russia is now becoming friendly by the day. But when you have $35 billion of trade a year, it's inevitable you like the guy on the other side of the table. Finally, coping with current turbulence in the Middle East and North Africa, especially agreeing on how to deal with Syria, will be the defining issue for the next couple of months, at least. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you to the Middle East Institute. Thank you to Noel for this excellent program, which I haven't been able to catch all of it, but I look forward to seeing, and it's one of the premier sort of programs that I've seen on Turkey, and really look forward to hearing from other speakers. And I also want to thank Wendy Chamberlain for her leadership of the Middle East Institute. Under her, the Middle East Institute remains a really dynamic institution that helps shape the policy debate inside the administration on Capitol Hill, and it's a very vibrant organization with a great set of programs like this one today. I'm not a Turkey expert in any sense of the word, and most of the people in this room know more about the details of Turkey and the ins and outs. My framework for analysis is looking at U.S. foreign policy largely in the Middle East and South Asia. I speak Arabic. I lived in the Middle East for about 5 years. And in my regular travels to this part of the world, to the Middle East and Afghanistan and Pakistan, I'm struck by how much, increasingly over the last 15 or 20 years that I've been living and working and studying in the region, Turkey is playing an increasingly assertive and important role in that part of the world. So many of my comments will be based on that perspective and will be honing in on that part of the world, not to the detriment of sort of Turkish relations with Russia or Europe or Cyprus issues and other things. It's just not what I focus on. The framework for how I'll talk about that part of the world and U.S.-Turkish bilateral relationships will largely be shaped by a report that I wrote way back in December of 2008 called The Neglected Alliance. And it was about the U.S.-Turkey relationship. I co-authored it with a former colleague of mine, Spencer Boyer, who is currently in the State Department working for Phil Gordon on a range of issues related to public diplomacy. And in that report, we talked about what Mustafa had very gently referred to as the fallout of 2003 and the years that had passed after that. And quite clearly, I think this is fairly conventional wisdom, but that after decades of close cooperation on a range of security questions, the U.S.-Turkish relationship by 2008 had fallen into disarray. And I think a big part of everybody's talked about the reset with Russia or hitting the Control-Alt-Delete button with that part of the world and with Russia. That's been a big part of what President Obama tried to do with Turkey. And in our report, we argued actually Turkey should be part of the President's first trip overseas. And it should be part of a Europe trip as opposed to the Middle East or other things. And he did that, and I think he said a lot of good words. But I agree with what Mustafa just said in terms of the conceptions of model partnership have fizzled out in some sense. And that's okay, because I actually think the Turkish bilateral relationship, the way that the United States and Turkey try to work together, says a lot about the way of the world in terms of 21st century diplomacy, and we need to adjust to it.